faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. This amazing Pokemon from the Hoenn region, the Super Ultra Chicken Blaziken!
Hey YouTube, time for some Pokemathematics, but first, I've got a question for you. When was the last time you played a Pokemon game? Was it the recently released Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire iterations? Or was it Pokemon Platinum where you can literally catch a god and say, all done here? Or maybe it was all the way back in the old red and blue versions where you figured it couldn't get any better than this. Except that it did. And then it did again. Regardless, no matter where on the color/mineral spectrum you cut it, math has always been an integral part of this long-lasting franchise, and we here at Pokemathematics, it's our job to spell it out for you. So, let's get started, shall we? With the start of every game, you, the player, get to choose a starter Pokemon from your friendly neighborhood tree-named professor. 3 different critters, representing 3 different elements to choose from. 1 grass, 1 water, and 1 fire. Each of those starters have 3 forms they take throughout your journey, visually growing as much as you grow in maturity. Typically, this little bugger earns a place on your team when you take on the final challenge in the main story, the Elite Four. But more often than not, the first companion you receive is stronger than the surrounding creatures both in level and in base stats. But the question gets asked frequently, which starter Pokemon is the strongest? Well, since Pokemon is a giant game of rock, paper, scissors like most competitive games of any sort, certain Pokemon have near perfect matchups versus another, so that question's kind of moot. But physical strength, according to various feats provided in our in-game encyclopedia, the Pokédex, can most definitely be measured. Let's see, there's Feraligatr, who can tear up foes using its powerful jaws. Oh, and there's Chestnut, one of the newest starting Pokemon that can tackle a 50-ton tank and survive bomb blasts. Oh, Swampert. Swampert can smash boulders just by swinging its non-mega arms. Not to mention Charizard, who can melt said boulders using its Pepper Breath Halitosis. And of course, there is Blaziken, one of the first Mega Pokemon you could have received when X and Y were first released. I mean, look at it! It is a literal fighting rooster that spits fire. Its wrist suddenly streams of flame when in battle. You could say he's a Kung Pao chicken. Aside from cool aesthetics and being a walking pun, what else is there to say about our Gen 3 friend? Well, going back to the wellspring of information that is the Pokédex, we see that it shoots flames from its wrist, it likes to battle, and leap over 30-story buildings. What? The Pokédex doesn't say this just once or twice, but 6 times out of the 12 different entries provided for our flightless friend here. So you're telling me, with a single Blaziken, you could have skipped the terrible teleporting trauma that is the Silphco building in Saffron City? It appears so. Now you, as well as all 5 people watching this video, my mother included, might ask yourself how. How can this chicken man with suggestive crotch plumage be able to leap over a structure built in only 15 days? Well, my small audience, strap in, because this ejector seat does not stop. First look at its height. Standing at an above average 6 foot 3 inches, we see that its Pokédex entries explicitly say it can leap over a 30-story building with ease. So if we want to find out how high this jumpy bird can hop, we need to pull out all the stops to find out how tall a 30-story building truly is. Civil engineering charts claim that every floor of a typical office building is 3.9 meters. Research done, right? Wrongo. A typical office building has important floors dedicated to business and maintenance, i.e. the lobby and mechanic floors respectively. Each of these floors are twice as tall as a typical floor, adding quite a bit more height onto the structure. And there's about a mechanic floor every 20 stories. Counting the parapet, the parapet, the tippy top of the building, the little shack thing, the shack thing on the top. Kind of looks like the one Tommy Wiseau walks out of in The Room. The parapet, on average, is 11.7 meters, literally atop the building.
Oh, hi, Mark.
With all of these numbers in mind, we can draft this equation. H office equals 3.9S. plus 11.7 plus 3.9 s divided by 20, where s is the number of stories in a building. Plugging in numbers, we can see that the true height of our 30-story building is, drumroll please, 134.55 meters, or a very nice 147.15 yards. Compare this to the current world record of highest vertical jump of 56.91 inches, and we can see that Blaziken doesn't even have to have speed boost to get the jump on us. With the height of his jump in mind, we were able to find the velocity Kentucky Fried Torchic here needs to take off on his 5,297.24 inch vertical. Using this equation, velocity squared equals 2 times gravity times height. We plug in everything we have so far. We can throw 134.55 meters into h for height, since we just found that. And with g being gravity, it's easy, 9.8 meters per second, a constant. Arrange for the square root and we end up with... We find that Blaziken here takes off on 51.35 meters per second, or a whopping 184.86 kilometers per hour. Not even Smogon banishing this bad boy to Ubers will stop this guy from outspeeding your mom's sedan. But let's think about this for a second. Not only is Big Bird here jumping a literal football field and a half at the speed of a Category 3 hurricane, but it's doing that with its own 2 legs. So surely, despite the Pokédex entry, a jump like that has to take some sort of big time toll on Birdman, right? I mean, Blaziken can jump this 30-story building in a measly 2.62 seconds. In that short time there, and the time halfway between blinks, it's already making its way downtown, jumping fast, faces past, and he is four-side bound. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sick memes, bruh! To which I say, thanks. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe for more. Wink. But back to Chicken Ball Z here. With this much hops, Blaziken should most definitely do some Chun-Li style damage, right? Well, according to Isaac Newton and his third law, we read, quote,
"For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction."
Which means the amount of force applied into the ground to launch Blaziken skyward is also applied to itself. Before we end up with the hard numbers, we first have to look at the different forms of jumps. According to various kinesiology sources, 3 sets of ridiculously named muscles are required for leaving the surface of the earth. The hamstring, the rectus femoris, and the eloquently named gastrocnemius. It's Greek, I swear. Bending these leg muscles in various degrees strongly affect the performance of the leap. A 30-degree bend launches with more force, but less energy, typically used for very short aggressive hops, like basketball. Next, the 60-degree angle is more of a middle ground between energy and force, creating more of a leap. The 90-degree knee bend, also called the counter movement or squat jump, involves flexing the muscles before snapping upward, and it creates the most efficient leap humanly possible. Again, comparing our measly 56.91 inch vertical versus Blaziken's 5,297.24 inches greatly dwarfs our accomplishments by a modest amount. Inputting Blaziken's mass of 52 kilograms, his 134.55 meter vertical, and his velocity of 51.35 meters per second into a specialized jump calculator specifying the counter movement, we find that he releases exactly 231,138 newtons into the concrete beneath itself. It's definitely a big number, but what does it mean? Well, lift a quarter-pound burger, or for a healthier option, apple, to your mouth, and you've exerted 1 newton of force on an object. Applaud yourself. Now, take that action and multiply it 231,138 times. To give a better illustration, you know how karate masters are able to break a 1.5 inch slab of concrete using their bare hands? Sources indicate it takes approximately 1,900 newtons of force to break through. It takes about 200,000 newtons to lift a semi-trailer, which is actually equivalent to 1 Tyrannosaurus Rex bite. And if Jurassic Park taught us anything, it was that this hurts quite a bit. In fact, it would sting quite a bit. The force it takes to break a bone varies on the bone, how the force was delivered, yada yada, but typically comes out to about 12,000 newtons of force. So, what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that Blaziken can kick a hole right through your chest. Nikki Kicks can really kickstart your heart, huh? Anyone? No, I'll see myself out. Going back to the jump, we can see Chicken Little leaving a crater the size of an intersection. But why were we discussing Newton's third law earlier, and how does it apply to this? Well, going back to that, the force used to rend the earth also comes back to bite the Bird Boy Wonder. Taking off in a dramatic fashion, it would start by breaking its toes and feet. And as the force travels upwards, it would continue to break its drumsticks before dissipating somewhere in the wider pelvis area, home of the suggestive crotch plumage. But hey, he'd be able to make it to the top in one piece, right? Kick out Giovanni, here's the Master Ball, and get out! Well, with enough full restores and the abuse of the Pokemon world's free healthcare benefits, he may be able to avoid that one-way ticket to the Distortion world. But hey, if you take Mudkip, add then multiply, you've got Pokemathematics. Thank you for watching.